Welcome everybody to the Houston Texans Madden 21 Rebuild franchise. Today I'm going to be recapping an offseason I did on Sunday, and I decided to do it live again for this series. I thought it was going to be an offseason where some big decisions had to be made, and the live format is just a lot of fun for me. So I did the live stream, of course, and if you want to watch the long version, it's on the channel right now. It's like 2.5 hours long. I'll summarize all the key moments here today and lead us into the next season. This was set to be a very different offseason for us because we're coming off the 10-6 year and because we've hit on so many picks in the series. We have a chance now, I think, to open and take advantage of a championship window. Shadon Roseman was the Rookie of the Year. We saw a lot of good things from him, and we also found out what we have to improve for him to play even better. Getting offensive line upgrades was the #1 priority. I also wanted to take a look at cornerback, and then if we could find some more developmental players. But I didn't feel like this was an offseason where we had to make a lot of additions. I wanted to keep our core, of course, and then find the right places to be aggressive and make necessary upgrades. Now, David Perkins, I brought him in to be a 1-year starter. He played so well, I signed him to the 3-year extension, so he comes back. I also gave an offer to Jake Bailey. I think he's been pretty solid. He comes back. And then Marquise Brown. I think he's our best cornerback we've really had in the series. Either him or Bradley Roby. He wanted to test free agency. And then Justin Johnson, again, I thought this would be a 1-year situation, but because we had so much cap space, why not? And run it back with that defensive line as good as they were a year ago. And then for a lot of these older veterans, or even the 27-year-old backups, I felt like we could maybe look to get younger and find other developmental players to take over those roles. The entire idea was that we find like 3 to 4 key players in the entire offseason and spend the rest of the time finding players to develop long term. There were some players here I didn't want to make decisions on at this point. I wanted to see what the free agent market looked like. So we were going into free agency with a lot of holes along the offensive line because Bullard and McMullen were not going to be re-signed. And we had Leslie Good and Randy Wallace as really the only long-term starters in place. So on to free agency. I love what I've done here with the XP slider so that we see big-name free agents. DeForest Buckner, Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill, Vita Vea, Jalen Ramsey. The chat really wanted me to go after Tyreek Hill, seeing that he was available. Wide receiver was very low on my list of priorities for this offseason. I wanted the offensive line, and that's where the free agent class wasn't all that strong, especially if you wanted to get better than where we were. I knew this would probably be the case, and that's why I wanted to explore the trade market a little bit. And if we had some leftover money after making some moves, then maybe you can go and make other signings that aren't necessarily needs. But gave an offer to Gordon Norwood. He's been solid. I'd love to bring him back for a couple more seasons. And then at corner, I really wanted Marquise Brown to come back, along with one of these other top corners potentially. So gave a very good offer here to Marquise Brown, 1 year, $11 million. And with 3 more key veterans available, I felt like we could make a pretty solid addition there. Gave an offer to Rodrigo Blankenship. He ended up being the best kicker available. And I considered, do we just bring back Robert Bullard? Maybe we try him at guard, just because it doesn't seem like there's the chance to find multiple upgrades. I didn't think Forrest Jackson was going to be a big enough upgrade to give him an offer. Ezra Cleveland just had too many holes in his game. So the trade market was where we had to go. And that's why before the draft, I wrote down every team that had a losing record last year because I want to make trades that make sense, can benefit both teams, and find veterans on bad teams that aren't going to be part of their rebuild process. So there were some really good tackle options, although when I went through these players, the good teams have the good linemen. So it's rare you find this situation. Mekhi Becton on a team picking top 2 or 3. He was easily the most intriguing option because he doesn't have holes in his game, and he has 1 year left on his deal, and he's 29. You could potentially play him for 3 to 5 more seasons, I think, and get high-level tackle play, which is exactly what we wanted to see. So the list of targets here ended up being very short, but best tackle in the game was our #1 player to target. So what was it going to take? First round pick, of course you have to at least consider giving that up. Every time I'm doing a trade here, I'm gauging how they like various players or picks. Isaiah Fletcher is somebody that I thought was expendable because we've built up some corner depth. I like Marquise Brown more, and he's entering the last year of his contract. Josh Richards as well, he's just become like the 6D lineman. Everybody else is just better and more promising. So Fletcher and Richards both made a lot of sense to trade, and I thought maybe with the first round pick that get us close to Mekhi Becton, but as you can tell here, there's just so much more you'd have to make up in value. And so it crossed my mind, like, do we consider one of these defensive linemen? We have more than we can sign long term. It's a very deep part of the roster, but it's also our winning edge. And that's a big risk to take a winning edge and start to take away from that to repair weaknesses. I really considered trading away Jabari Carr at this moment because I thought that's what it would take to make a trade work. And chat really talked me out of exploring that too deep. And so I went to another option here. Jedrick Wills, down to 95 overall, might be a little bit easier to acquire. He was also 29, one of the top-rated tackles, so I felt like this would be maybe the easiest way for us to get that big upgrade. And we almost got a deal done here for Josh Richards and the first-round pick. And then there were some in chat that got me to double-check the ratings and see the pass blocking. Like, is that the right fit? Because that's what we're trying to get better. Robert Bullard was beat around the edge so much. And then I tried this offer. Couldn't quite get it done. Didn't want to really give up a second and a first, but if I could get another pick back, then it would make it a little bit easier. So I tried a couple of those, and it just didn't work. So then I went back to Mekhi Becton. Could we find a way to get this to work? And then I found how much they valued our future first-round pick. And the reason is because our current first-round pick was at 23. Our future first was projected at 14, and although it was in the future, that 14th selection carries so much value. They're basically banking on us taking a step back and not being as good, having a more valuable first round pick next year than right now. So if the Jets want to go that route, that's fine. That opened up the possibilities, but we weren't going to get it done for Isaiah Fletcher or Josh Richards. So the trade ended up being a future first, a current fourth, and wide receiver Jermaine candidate. Another player on the last year of his contract. I felt like if I had to pick 2 out of the 3 receivers, it was going to be Jones and Ingram long term. I know candidate's coming off a 1,000-yard season, but I think that role is easier to replace, and there are so many deep threats in the league. And ultimately, I had to give up a very good player to make the trade even work. So that's what it took, and now we have Mekhi Becton on the team. From there, now what do we do at corner? Tre'Davious White, I thought at this point, better than Jalen Ramsey. His speed has held up better, 99 press. So I gave him a $15 million offer. We still had some cap space, and I now had to think about receiver, but half the league, or a third of the league, wanted to sign Tyreek Hill. So I went down to Devin Macklin. 98 speed, 95 acceleration, that's some serious explosiveness. And I really like Calvin Johnson here as well. I think he's more of the Amari Jones archetype. And while intriguing, Macklin's speed stands out among the deep threats. He's fast compared to fast players. And that's the role ultimately I wanted to have replaced. So there's a ton of money here in offers. You never know if you're going to get them all. So that was the first stage of free agency. And here are the results of that. Rodrigo Blankenship returns to be our kicker. Gordon Norwood is back as tight end number 1. Marquise Brown signs. And then Tre'Davious White is here as well, giving us a really intriguing cornerback tandem. Now here are some big moves that will impact the series. Josh Jacobs going to the Colts. DeForest Buckner leaving the Colts. That's fantastic news for us. He is one of the biggest reasons why those Colts matchups didn't go our way. And then Tyreek Hill, we're going to see him either way as he goes to Tennessee. Now we face him twice a year. Jalen Ramsey ends up going to Tampa. So, our division rivals making aggressive moves just like us. We add Mekhi Becton, we add Tre'Davious White, but I still felt like now we had to focus on guard. Michael Onwenu was an option. I liked his ratings as a run blocker, and that's what I emphasize primarily for interior players. 2 years left on his contract, and honestly, I kind of preferred 1 year left so I can handle all the future contract stuff. But I felt like Wyatt Teller, the balanced ratings, the high strength, I felt like he'd just be a better option for us. So Teller became the new favorite guard option of mine. In the draft, I liked Rashad Walker, who obviously is a late first round pick, low 70s overall, won't be as good as some other veterans, but there was still a chance we could add 2 guards, including Walker. Looking at the draft, cornerback was deep, but I wanted like immediate impact, high quality starter. Cornerbacks will take a little time. Any rookie is going to take some time, so that's why I wanted to go and get Tre'Davious White. I then wanted to trade Isaiah Fletcher. No team showed high interest, but the Browns actually were willing to trade Fletcher straight up for Wyatt Teller. Now Fletcher's younger. Teller has 1 year left on his deal at 33 years old. Who knows how much longer he ends up playing, but this allows us to have a much improved offensive line, even if we didn't do anything more going into the season. I was able to pull the offer there for Robert Bullard, having that guard spot filled. I was going to then look and focus on the draft, and I increased the offer then for wide receiver Devin Macklin, making this a 2-year offer. Players like more years. 1 year deals aren't as enticing. And then for the third linebacker spot, I felt like Darren Jordan was a really good option here. Only 27 years old, normal development, just kind of an average starter, but I thought he had the cover skills to add something to our defense. Simming past this stage, after having those big offers out there, Devin Macklin signs, replacing Jermaine Candidate and giving us an offense that should be very exciting and improved for Shadon Rosemond. Macklin's coming off almost 1,200 yards in San Francisco. He's only in year 5 of his career, and we're going with a single-digit number for him. That's the new thing in the NFL, so we'll incorporate that a bit here in the series. Number 9 with some turf tape and 98 speed. Can't wait to see the impact of Devin Macklin. On to the rest of this now. We had 5th-year option decision on Josh Richards, and obviously we weren't going to pick that up, but I still wanted to trade him, but no longer was it necessary to trade him. That's something I could wait on still and end up trading for 2029 picks. So past that, free agency already a major success, but we do not add Darren Jordan. He ended up getting more money and more years from the New York Giants. So on to the NFL draft we go. I could not believe we made the upgrades we did and held on to our 1st round pick. Now we lost next year's, so that's going to be a challenge at some point, and I still wanted to be aggressive. I wasn't going to try to spend all our picks here. I still wanted to trade up. This was going to be an all-out aggressive offseason for me because of where the team is at in our championship window, and we got to attack it now. So Rashad Walker was the top target. This wasn't going to be a dramatic draft for us. I wanted to take the 1 starting caliber guard I thought the class had. So the Falcons took Otis Woodyard, a safety, at number 1. And then at number 2, Tyreek Fowler went. The only 1st round receiver I expected to go ended up going very early. Then Ben Beacham went to the Jets. The entire first round for me was, when do the cornerbacks start to go? Because that was still something I had some interest in for our second pick. We still had our 2 seconds. So if we could get Rashad Walker and then potentially trade up for another player that falls, I was loving that idea. But the cornerbacks eventually started to go. Jeff Singh was first, and then Quincy Newton to Tennessee. And then the Vikings actually took an offensive lineman there, Reed, the right tackle. First running back off the board was Ladarius Knight to Seattle in what was a very deep running back class. That was another second round possibility for us. And at 23, I felt like we might be able to sit and pick Rashad Walker. There's also some risk though, because he's just a good player at a thin position. So if there was a team with that need, he could easily go. And I felt like now we only had to make a couple more picks. So trading up, while maybe not the right value decision, I still think made the most sense for us, because those mid-round picks aren't as valuable when we're trying to find starters now, rather than depth for later. So ultimately, made the pick here with San Francisco, gave up 87 and 215. Still had those 2 second-round picks, so I felt great we could still do more in the class. And Rashad Walker was the pick. A ton of athletic upside, normal development, but I love that he comes with a balanced skill set. There's no major weakness. You have to throw every archetype in until it's manageable. I mean, I guess some of those are lower, like his finesse ratings are much better at agile, and he is really good at getting to the second level. But nothing is like at 61, where I'll just be spending his whole rookie year focused on it. So there's a very nice offensive line, I think, going into year 2. 3 brand new starters, best rookie, best veteran. I couldn't do anything more than that. But what was next? Cornerback wasn't like a need or anything. I like our depth there, but that seemed to be where some value would be. I like Delvin Wilkerson here, a younger receiving tight end with 4.57 speed and excellent hands. That felt like it would be more of a luxury pick, not super necessary. And then at running back, Robert Penn's entering the last year of his deal, and there's no solidified running back of the future on the team. So with first round picks available, you have to at least take a look. And I felt like they were good, not great options. I didn't feel like they'd be good chance at top 10 running back caliber. So the running backs were actually not as intriguing to me as some other spots. At corner, there was still a first round talent that was projected to go in the 4th. So that made me think that maybe I could wait a little bit on corner. And then Dre Tatum, an early first round safety talent. I know we've spent some time on safety in recent years, but early first round talent's early first round talent. So could I move up here from 48? Not into the first round. Wasn't willing to do that. Delvin Wilkerson ended up going to San Francisco at 23. Deshaun Harold went to Kansas City. He was like the 6th or 7th corner taken. Actually one of the better late first round picks. And then the Indianapolis Colts. They are the first team to go quarterback here. Mitchell Holliday, the former backup at Louisville for Shadon Rosemond, who will now be the quarterback alongside KJ Mentor, another Louisville quarterback, and only 2 overall points lower than him. So we're looking at the Colts most likely drafting the quarterback of their future. We'll see his rating soon. In the second round, I really wanted to move up from 16. So a 5th round pick to the Patriots somehow got us up 12 spots. I think that's a steal for us that allowed us to move up, and Dre Tatum was the easy option. Early first round talent, excellent athleticism, and that hidden development is always nice to see. Only 21 years old. 91 speed, 72 zone coverage, good hit power. Really excited to see what we can do with him, although there's not an opening for a starting spot at safety. We'll talk about him again later. What do we do with pick 23 in the second round? Lionel Bates goes, my favorite linebacker went. What do we do now? Here I felt like we were just going to most likely stay put. and not trade up with this one. Watched a lot of good players go off the board, but Jadarius Oliver was still going to be available. But there was also another player with first-round talent, and that was wide receiver Daniel Blue. He's got the slot archetype, but he runs 4.37, and you're getting like guarantees with his hands and short route running. That to me was the more intriguing upside, and that's why Daniel Blue was the pick here. 5'10", 200 pounds, 94 speed, 90 acceleration. I felt like he also had some kick return upside. And then when you see the secondary attributes, you start to think about what he could do at running back with great ball carrier vision, juke. He's got change of direction skills. But hey, I still wanted to maybe go and get Oliver as well, so I gave up a 5 and a 6 to move up with our 4th round pick, and then Jadarius Oliver would also be coming to Houston. These are luxury picks for us, some high upside players that might not play a lot early on. Oliver also to me wasn't a great scheme fit. He needs the development to fit how I play defensively. Low catching, low zone coverage, low press, so hopefully we can develop him over time. That left us with just the 6th round pick, and here I felt like the best pick we could likely make was Michael Arnett. 6'6", 280, 21 years old, very good athlete. Do you take him or a kicker? I always am intrigued by taking the kicker late, getting 4 years of a cheap kicker, but Michael Arnett I thought was more interesting. Again, the size, speed combination, he's the kind of player you end up taking late. He's not ready to play. He's very raw. All the football skills are in the 60s. So he might be a practice squad player, at the very least, long-term project with some upside. So that's a 5-player class for us. A 1st, 2 seconds, a 3rd, and a 6th. I love how I attacked this draft. I don't think I'd really change anything. I wanted to see Daniel Blue's ratings at running back. And the game does care about overall rating, and he is an 82 overall running back. And because there's that uncertainty at running back with Robert Penn in the last year of his deal, we got to see what Blue can do there. I have to know if he can play running back or not, and that's going to lead us to most likely doing a preseason stream to see him, to see Devin Macklin, and to see a couple other players. Here were some of the other picks, though, that were interesting in this draft. Top receiver, Tyreek Fowler. A lot of upside here, I think, even with normal dev. The route running is just super raw, and with normal dev, that's going to take a little bit to come up. Out of all the first-round corners, only a couple had hidden dev. Daniel Pippen, 3rd corner off the board, hidden dev to Miami. And then later, like the 6th or 7th corner taken, Deshaun Harold. Hidden development for Kansas City. And good thing he has hidden dev because a lot of those ratings need some work. Delvin Wilkerson had 89 speed, lower route running at tight end, which can come up rather quickly. Would have liked to add him, but he goes to San Francisco. The Colts came away with their quarterback of the future, Mitchell Holiday, and those ratings concern me. 90 speed, 91 throw power. The accuracies, I think, will be fine in a couple years. I am not looking forward to future Colts matchups, but we got to beat them. They just beat us 3 times this year. Lionel Bates at running back. Solid skills here. I think the running backs that end up being the most successful have good power speed blends. Matthew Jenkins, under 200 pounds, but seemed to have a little bit in his game as well. Trey Newton had hidden dev going to New England, so he might have been 2nd best running back in the whole class. I also wanted to see Dre Tatum's skills here at linebacker, and the game graded him as a 76 overall. I do have concerns, at 207 pounds if he can hold up against the run, but I do think that him playing some sub linebacker this year and developing there is probably going to be likely. Although I think if you're to play him right now, honestly, his best position is probably corner because he can press. We then signed Floyd Sheffield as a backup quarterback, and that basically got us to the end of the offseason. I was extremely happy with it. I think I made good trades, good draft decisions, and I executed my plan. I wanted to be aggressive. I wanted 2 to 3 new starters along the line, and I wanted to hopefully come away with some value picks in the draft, and we did that. Devin Macklin replacing Jermaine Candidate wasn't necessarily part of the plan initially, but had to be flexible and thought that was a very good move that allowed us to end up with Mekhi Becton, who will play left tackle. Leslie Good goes to right tackle. We got Tre'Davious White, Marquise Brown. I think we finally have that cornerback tandem that can match up with some of the top receivers in the league. I gotta think that it increases our turnover upside. We already led the league in sacks. I love to be like top 5 in takeaways as well. And then a couple more players here to talk about, like maybe Marcus Childs is a better linebacker fit now at safety, adding Dre Tatum. So Childs is only a 71 there, but he's got better run stopping skills, and I don't think he's going to have a future for us at safety. So that's going to be something we check on in the preseason. I will be streaming these games, and I'm looking forward to another preseason stream where we actually get to see the players in action. It's nice doing that compared to just simming the preseason. I feel like I've missed out from all the sim preseasons I've done in series like this. So what did you think of the offseason? I'm very happy with it. Do you think this gets us to becoming a team that can win playoff games and compete for a championship? Let me know down below. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you all with more Texans franchise later this week. Have a great day.